you for tuning in. You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World. This is Women Empowerment Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Carmelle Bias. Oh, we are in the studio once again on a beautiful day here in Seattle, Washington this afternoon with our guest, Dr. Trina Brown, via StreamYard with us on the line this afternoon. Dr. Trina Brown, how are you doing this afternoon?
I am doing wonderful. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you on the show this afternoon with us on this beautiful day here in Seattle, Washington. Before we jump into the interview this afternoon, of course, y'all, I like to give those announcements and let y'all know everything that's going on here in the 206 area. So first of all, I need to let you guys know, Women in Business Expo Group, we have completed the website. Done. Yes, we are so excited. This website is amazing. And a big thanks to Miss Elaine Robinson of Smiling Websites, who has been the web designer on this project and has been amazing to work with. Oh, if you need a web designer, you definitely want to contact Miss Elaine Robinson with Smiling Websites. We have completed the website. There is information there. Upcoming events, resources, everything it is that we need as entrepreneurs to create that extra avenue of revenue for ourselves, also to the e-commerce platform. So you can sign up now, post your products and your services up there, and let's get to selling, y'all. Definitely you want to check out that website. It's www.wibeg.biz. Okay, once again, that website again is www.wibeg.biz. You can definitely go there, sign up, become a member, learn more about the organization, put your products and services up there, just to, like I said, that other avenue to create revenue, for ourselves as entrepreneurs. The website is up, it's launched, it's ready. Again, for more information and details, you can also check out Women in Business Expo Group at yahoo.com. You can email us there or check us out on Facebook, Women in Business Expo Group for sure. I've always posted information there, upcoming events, whatever it is that's going on in the city. You can find it now right there on our Facebook page or our website. Again, that website address is www.wibeg.biz. Take a look at it. It's just a wealth of information and all the work it is that we've put into it. So we're definitely glad that it is complete now and up and running, and you can go ahead and take a look and visit that site. Also, too, want to let y'all know we are still looking for those that are interested in assisting us, looking for panelists, guest speakers, those that are excited about helping young people. We are doing the mentorship program with Echo Glen Youth Detention Center. So we are reaching out to the young people and keeping them encouraged about entrepreneurship, keeping them inspired and motivated, and if you are that person that loves helping young people, loves inspiring them, and also too loves the business, this is an opportunity for you to get your name out there, and help someone, do something for somebody else, So again, we're looking for guest speakers, panelists, those that have expertise in the area of business, social media, business development, whatever your talents are, come on out. You can definitely be a part of this program. It's our youth mentorship program that we are putting together with Echo Glen Youth Detention Center. For more details and information, you can definitely email us again, Women in Business Expo Group at yahoo.com. Also, too, want to let y'all know Festival Sinjata is coming back up again this year. June 17th, 18th, and 19th, the whole weekend. Okay, this is a weekend event here that's going to be coming up June 17th, 18th, and 19th. This event you don't want to miss this year's. It's back, and for those of you that have been to Festival Sinjata prior years and then COVID hit, and we didn't have much going on, but they are back once again now. So we definitely want to support that upcoming event. Again, those dates are June 17th, 18th, and 19th. The event is at the Seattle Center once again. It's going to be a live event that weekend there. Lots of live music, food, business owners out there, just doing their thing. So definitely you want to support that event. For more information and details, visit festivalsinjata.org. There you will find all additional information, details, who the lineup is going to be too. They've done some great concerts in the past too. So if you're looking for a great park concert to go and hang out to Father's Day weekend, that's what weekend that is, y'all. go on out, bring your dad, have a good time. That's going to be a wonderful weekend to have some fun. So definitely check that out again, festivalsinjata.org for more information and details. Yes, yes. Now let's go ahead once again and reintroduce our guest here, Dr. Trina Brown, who is with us this afternoon in the studio today with us via StreamYard. We're going to talk about finance. We're going to talk about ministry. We're going to talk about it all, okay? Because she does it all. So we definitely want to give her a big welcome, y'all. Let's once again introduce Dr. Trina Brown to the show. Thank you again for being here this afternoon, Dr. Trina Brown.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I'm a part of Seattle. Oh my goodness. I lived in Seattle for 23 years and I'm excited. When she reached out to me, I was like, yes, yes, yes. So I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Yes,
my people.
To have you on the show with us this afternoon. Dr. Trina Brown, why don't you go ahead, let the listeners know, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us some background.
Okay, well, I am Dr. Trina Brown. I am originally from the East Coast, born and raised in West Virginia, but I spent 23 of my years in Seattle, Washington. So I am very familiar with Rainier Avenue, and I lived in the Skyway, and I should say the west side of Seattle, going over towards Burien. And so that's where I had my house built. But I love Seattle. Worked with the City of Seattle Police Department, with the African American Advisory Council for 12 and a half years. I worked with the Kent Mayor's Office and Kent Police Department for almost 5 years. So I am very familiar with Seattle. And then I've been in ministry for over almost close to 30 years. Believe it or not, been in ministry for 30 years. Been in business for myself for 20 years. I just celebrated my 20th year anniversary. So I'm excited about that. I have several businesses. I just got my doctorate within the last year. During COVID, I went ahead and got my doctorate. And so I'm excited about that. And I have wrote several books. Last year, I wrote 2 books with Dr. Les Brown, Mr. Motivator himself. So I had 2 books that went out and published with him, speaking engagements as well. So I'm excited. We're going to get to some good stuff, some good nuggets about finances, about ministry, about how we can get through this pandemic and still be able to have a nest for our family. So it's some good things that I'm excited about sharing. But I've been in the ministry, like I said, for over 30 years, been in the financial world for 36 years. Believe it or not, 36 years. My God, I don't look like it. Thank you, Lord. Yeah. So I'm excited. So anyhow, that's a little bit about me. I have a son, Frederick, who was born in Seattle. And so I'm like I said, Seattle is my second home. I don't care where I go. People say, well, you still got your 206. Yeah, I got 206 area code. Yeah. I still represent my 206 area code. So I am truly a Seattle fan. I love the Seahawks. I consider Seattle part of my home. Half of my life I spent in Seattle. So I'm truly grateful for the area.
Awesome. Glad to know that about you. Why don't you go ahead then and let our listeners know? I mean, because you've mentioned a little bit about your background there in the ministry. So let's take a step back and let's find out, what was life like prior to ministry?
Oh, prior to ministry. I really don't, I can say it wasn't the best, but yet my son was about maybe 2 years old. So I've been in ministry for over 30 years. So I don't know life. It's just, I was going to college. I had just recently moved to Seattle. I moved to Seattle in 89. And so 1989, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was September the 19th of 1989, and it was raining. It rained for 40 days. And so I was like, I want to go back to my East Coast. I want to go back home. So I was welcomed by rain, and I just endured it and loved it. But prior to that, I think I had a career that I got into finances. And so finances have always been my my breadwinner, so to say, and being the thing that I did. So I worked in the banking industry. I worked for major companies in the Seattle area. So I started off working at a bank as a teller in Green Lake area. And so it kind of was one of those things. And then I went to the university area. So it was one of those where I started off outside of downtown, but then eventually ended up downtown in major corporate companies. And so from there, it grew. So that's prior to ministry. I wasn't, back then I wasn't really in that ministry mindset. So I was just living my life that I thought was the best life in my 20s. And so I got saved and in ministry in my 20s. So it will be 30 something years. And I just don't know. Like I said, I was in my early 20s, and you know how we were in the 20s, and so I was not at that time. I thought I was grown, as my mom would say, baby, you grown, you think you're grown now, huh? And then God came and gave me a reality check. No, you ain't grown yet.
And that's exactly it too. But it sounds like there was definitely an interest or some type of passion there too for finance or financial there in the beginning.
Yes, always in the beginning. Always. My very first job, let me tell you this, my very first job, I come from a small community in West Virginia, and my very first job was working in the company community store. And I, was 14 years old, and I'm working as a cash register person at the store. And I didn't know, because I was doing it for just to have a couple dollars in my pocket at 14, And so I remember it like it was yesterday. And the gentleman's name was Mr. Odell, and Mr. Odell and his sister, Miss Bertha, said, well, you can work in the store in the evening times after you finish school. So I worked 3 hours in the evenings. And that was how, back then they had that punch the button. It was like one of those, and you pull down. And so that was the cash register. So they had one of those old school cash registers. Mm-hmm. And so by the time the 80s came around, they had said, well, I was like, trying to tell them, okay, we can do it electronic. And so I introduced them to the first electronic cash register, and they did not know anything. And so I was honored to be able to teach them how to use the first cash register. So finances have always been something for me.
Yeah, I definitely could tell and hear it, not only in your voice, but also too when reading your bio and your background. And that's why I really felt that you would be a good fit for today's show, definitely when talking about finances. Also too in your bio, you mentioned inventing a product.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Oh my goodness. I was just talking about that earlier today. I remember that as well. I actually was living in Seattle. And in 2008, I was just a dream, you have a dream and you wake up out of your dream, you think, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. But when I got up, it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't go back to sleep. And it was like, I laid there and I tried to doze off, and God said, get the pen and get the paper. And I didn't have pen and paper by my bed. I had an envelope, and I sketched out my invention on an envelope. Wow. And it's called luggage table. It was a table that sits on top of the luggage. And it has been U.S. patent. And it sits on top of your luggage. And so when you travel, you have a table. Mm-hmm. And so that was my patent that I invented. I'm so excited about that, because now we're looking at doing some extra things with it now. And so that's the exciting part, with adding some things to it to upgrade it, because now we're going to start back to traveling eventually, but also just having it accessible to utilize when you do certain things. You can have this mobile table that will be able to be mobilized with you.
Yes. Wow. That is amazing. And this came from an ideal or a vision it is that you had, it sounds like, and then just sketched this out on the back of an envelope?
Literally, I kid you not. You know how the Bible talks about witty inventions, right? Yes. He will give you that. I don't know at that time if I was going to be thinking about something that was kind of off, but I got up and I thought, okay, every once in a while I have these crazy little dreams, and I'm thinking, at this time, I'm thinking, a table? Why would I be thinking about a table? And so when I started sketching it out, I sketched the luggage, and then on top of the handle of the luggage, because it sits on the handle of your luggage. And so I had to remember how to do the latch. And so God showed me how to do the latching, how to tighten it. So when I sent it to the patent office, I had to tell them how it was going to be latched, how to secure it, and all of that. But it came from an idea. And it wasn't something that was needed at that time, but it was something that was necessary for the time zone that we were in. And this was in 2008.
Yes, yes. Wow. Amazing. But this is how great ideals, how inventions, God gives us visions. We move, on those visions, and then we create, great products and services. These things come out. And you are a
Exactly.
prime example of what God can do when you allow him to use you too.
Exactly. And how many times have people sat around and said, I could have did that. I should have thought of that, and there's certain things that's so simple. And
Yeah.
it's just like he confounds the wise, and so it was something that I'd never thought me, but I have like I think it's about 7 other things that we're working on, me and my son, because I put him on there. At the time, he was about maybe 13, 14 years old. And I put him on my patent because I wanted him to have that idea of having ownership. If anything ever happened to me, then it will not die. It will keep going on. So that's the other part that I train people and coach people on. When you have a business, don't always just put it for yourself. Leave it so that it will continue to flow after you're gone. So that way you'll leave an inheritance for your children's children.
Yes, yes. And that's a jewel right there, y'all. For those of you that are just tuning in, you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World. This is Women Empowerment Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Carmelle Bias. Oh, we are in the studio this afternoon with our guest, Dr. Trina Brown, and she's dropping some jewels, you guys. Oh, you guys better pay attention to this show here. And we are just discussing here in regards to her patent. It is an invention it is that she's done. Also, too, just touching on some finance here. Let's also then talk about, you have your own business too.
I have several of them. I have, as we speak, I have 4, working on a 5th one. And so, yes, I have 4. I have 2 foundations. So you're probably thinking about Second Opportunity Support Center, which is one foundation that I had in the beginning. And that was in 2002. I'm sorry, 2001. 2001 is when I invented that, in May of 2001. And that's the program that everybody in Seattle knew me by, because that's the one that I saved over close to 1,800 homes from foreclosure. And I was helping people find jobs. And that's when I worked with the Department of Unemployment, as well as trying to find people with jobs, getting people connected with right connections and community advocacy. So that's the big program that I had for 20 years. And from that, I have Saving Other Souls for Christ ministry. That's the other umbrella of SOSC. So when you see SOSC, it actually is a 2 parts to it. It's Second Opportunity Support Center and Saving Other Souls for Christ ministry. That's my ministry that I'm focusing on now. And so that's one business, I should say 2 in 1. And then I have Neuropathic Trainers Foundation, which is my other foundation that I had, and that was created in 2017. And then there is Data Civility, which was created during the pandemic and making our numbers count. Data Civility is a company that I created to work with healthcare, as well as just the statistical status of what our numbers are in regards of healthcare, in regards of people of color, why our numbers didn't count, and why we need to make sure that when we go back to the drawing board and work with numbers, we show the facts and not what someone assume, because the assumption is that our numbers wasn't on the table and that our numbers didn't count when it came down to, for example, when we were dealing with the pandemic. Some people didn't have access to their doctors, correct? And
Right.
so they were doing virtual visits with their doctors. Well, did you know that people that lived in rural areas such as Mississippi, Alabama, and predominantly African Americans didn't have access to the internet? And so with our older seniors, our people that we consider the wiser ones, didn't have access to a doctor. So some of them was not able to have the virtual visits like me and you. And
Right.
so now we're working with it's more of a tower that I'm working with, a couple towers that will have access if anything ever happened, that there is a connection so that they won't be without a doctor visit. And
Mm.
several people did not have doctor visits, which caused them to have healthcare issues. Some of them that I work with dementia, that's a big piece of my puzzle as well, that had started having early onsets of dementia because they didn't have those visits. And then some that was in the nursing homes wasn't able to see their doctor on an ongoing basis. So there was a lot that could have been done, and a lot that I want to advocate to make changes on going forward in regards of statistical studies.
Yes.
That's what data civility is.
Okay.
And then I also have Dr. Trina Brown and Associates, which gives me the platform of Dr. Trina Brown Speaks, which I have a radio show as well that we talk into 180 countries.
Awesome. This lady is busy, y'all. Okay. We're glad to have you on the show once again because you are definitely doing the work and we honor you and thank you for your work and your time for sure. Wow, I am just amazed and in awe here because as I said, as I read through your bio and was putting everything together for this interview, I said she's busy. This lady is busy, y'all, but she's here this afternoon to share her story, to share her wisdom, her knowledge with us. You know, let's find out the data civility. Let's talk about that. The numbers. You
Oh,
know,
yes.
why is it that we don't, I guess, show up? Our numbers don't add up.
Well, let me say it like this, sis, is that, and I don't mind you, I hope you don't mind me calling you sis,
I don't
but
mind. I don't mind.
listen, let me be real with you. And I'm
Yes.
gonna be real with you because see, our numbers don't show up because we don't have the system to show our numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I created data civility is that I want them to come to us and say, what numbers do you have? Because so we won't count on their numbers. We're creating our numbers because we know us.
Yeah.
So we know the people of color. We know our Hispanic brothers and sisters. We know those that are in different nationalities of people of color. And so when we look at it, so for example, I deal with people in regards to healthcare. And so they say that dementia is not a high number when we know that it's not true. And so they don't use our numbers correctly when it comes to that type of things. And so what they have to do is say, well, percentage. When they give percentage, it's based off of them saying they took 100 people. And out of that 100 people, they said, well, we looked at the minority number. Mm-hmm. Minority number meaning that they looked at Filipinos, they looked at Asians, they looked at all of them are considered minority. Okay. And then there's another tier that breaks down from that minority. How many Hispanics, how many people of color, how many of those are considered those numbers? Okay. And so then when do you really get down to the people of African American descent? Those numbers are, so they would say, oh, it's only 3%. Well, mm-hmm. Why is it only 3%? That's because you use the majority of it and said 20% or 2% is the minority, and not really looked at it and said, how many are African American descent? How many numbers are there really behind that? And so in certain areas, when it comes to crime, they're going to use those numbers. But why are we not at the table when it comes to, and then those are missed over. The numbers for crime and all that, that's a miss as well, because they're looking at it based off of how many people in a a region or either in the sector. So you in the Rainier Valley area, correct? And
Yeah.
so being in Rainier, there's a difference of those numbers based off of African Americans compared to being in the northern part of Seattle area. And so what they do is they take and screw the numbers, and they misconstrue the numbers based off of the radius of the geographic area of where you're located. And so then they don't take them as whole. And so what we're looking at is that our numbers are not actual because they're not looking at from a holistic point of view. They're looking at them in pieces.
Wow. Yes. Yes.
And
that,
so that's why we need to create a system.
mhm.
And that's what data stability is. I'm working with the NIH, which is the National Institution of Health, to find out why African American women's numbers, as well as men, are not being counted for when it comes to early onset of dementia, because they rather for you to have the first stages of it without doing prevention. And so that's the problem for me. Why come we can't do prevention? Why they have to have us on high blood pressure medicine, diabetes medicine before they can say, oh yeah, you really have a problem.
That's exactly.
It's about the dollar sign.
Yes, yes. Dr. Trina Brown, why don't you go ahead? Let our listeners know, for those that are interested in learning more about you, how to reach out to you, how to connect. What does that listener need to do?
Well, there's a couple things. I have one website for neuropathic trainers, and that's neuropathictrainers.com. You can go there and subscribe, and that one will give me emails and give me a connection to you, as well as data civility. And so both of those have a subscription that you can sign in, and that I will email based off of the link of what you put in the information. And then there's connected with me on through my phone as well. And so you can reach out to me, and I will give that number as well. And that's my, I have two of those. And so I'm going to give you the 206 because I feel comfortable doing that. And that's 206-579-6308. That is my everyday number that you can reach me at. And then let's just talk about, because I do mental fitness coaching as well, as you probably noticed in the neuropathic trainers. We train the mind to be ready for financial as well, because some people have family members that's dealing with health issues, and they don't understand how to adjust the financials to make sure that they can take care of their loved one.
Yes, yes. Well, it's definitely, like I said, been an honor here to have you on the show with us this afternoon. I mean, you are a wealth of knowledge here, and I'm glad that we've had this opportunity once again to have you on the show. I'd love to have you back once again so we can dive deeper into a lot of the information and the resources it is that you have to share with our listening audience. Dr. Trina Brown, I thank you once again for your time this afternoon, and I want to thank those listeners out there for tuning in. This is Rainier Avenue Radio World, and I'm your host, Carmelle Bias.